Speaker, just a few weeks ago, or a week or two ago, you were toying with the idea of impeachment. Now you're talking about the 25th
I was doing what?
You're toying with the idea of impeachment.
I was not toying with the idea of impeachment.
And now you're
not
talking
have
about
a predicate that did not exist. Another question, because that is based on a false thing. Yes, sir.
Madam Speaker, I'm just curious about the timing. Why introduce this legislation now? Why not wait until the new session of Congress? Things may have changed, may have a clearer view of the arc of the legislation and the Congress. Wouldn't it be easier when the decks are cleared just to wait until the next session?
Be ready, and it takes time, and there's been a call for why not execute the 25th Amendment. That's not what we're doing. We're saying let us Congress exert the power that the Constitution gave it. Jamie, did you want to speak to that?
You know, it's interesting that when I found that the body had never been set up, and I guess the reason is that there's never a really good time to do it because it's always seen just in its local circumstance as opposed to the need to have this institutionally. So I guess I would say this is the situation has focused everybody's mind on the need for following through on this suggestion in the 25th Amendment that Congress set up its own body. And I think, again, in the age of COVID-19, where a lot of government actors have been afflicted by it, we need to act.
Madam Speaker, to my colleague's question, I mean, this is a president who has been impeached. You've made comments in recent days suggesting that you think his mental state might be affected by the drugs that he's on. What do you say to those who see what you're doing now and say, aha, this is just another attempt to go around the public and try to get rid of this president, you know, through a way that's not an election?
Well, let me first say, what I said about the president and the drugs was, there are those who believe that taking certain medications can affect your judgment. I don't know. I said, let's say what I actually said. I don't know. That's what I said on a call with my members. So you may have gotten it through several times removed. There are those medical professionals who say that certain medications can impair judgment. I don't know. And this is not, I appreciate your question because this is really important. It's not about any of us making a judgment about the president's being. It's about this respected, bipartisan, both aspects of it, medical side of it, the side of it, are selected equally by the leader of the leader in a bipartisan way. And the vice president is crucial to that. When we do legislation, it's important to socialize it so that people understand why, so that we would like to have it in place, and it could be said for future presidencies. If the president wins this election, yes, it would apply to him. If he doesn't, it'll apply to the next president of the United States. But this isn't about anything to say, we got to do something like this about the election. It's not about the election at all. And I thank the distinguished gentleman from Maryland for this. This has been, we could have done this a while back. But the timing is for now because people want to know. We have to give some comfort to people that there is a way to do this. Very respectful of not making a judgment on the basis of a comment or behavior that we don't like, but based on a medical decision, again, with the full involvement of the Vice President of the United States. He or she may be at the time.
Would you concede then that the President has not met the threshold for invoking the 25th Amendment?
Well, I don't understand the question.
Well, would you concede that the President has not met the threshold for invoking the 25th Amendment?
That's not for us to decide.
Yeah, I mean, the whole point is, look, we understand that in politics, people point fingers back and forth, but the issues raised are of such gravity and central importance to the nature of our government that we've got to think of this in constitutional terms. And this is why we need to set up an institution composed on a bipartisan fashion in bicameral fashion that will be able to make judgments, whether it is 5 months from now, 5 years from now, 50 years from now, whatever it might be. We're living in an age of a lot of chaos, I want to say I appreciate what the Speaker has to go through on a daily basis, dealing with the chaos of politics, which has been made especially intense recently. And I appreciate her seeing that we need to create some constitutional and institutional foundations for dealing with the chaos. And our forebears who wrote the 25th Amendment gave us the tools that we need to deal with these kinds of crises.
Our common ground with the American people is the Constitution of the United States. It has always been gratifying for me, edifying, to go around the country, and no matter Democrats or Republicans, right or left or whatever, that the Constitution, the rules, are what really do unify us. And this is a comfort to people, that it's not about who's in power saying, I don't like the way he or she is acting. It's about a process that is bipartisan, based in the Constitution, giving Congress the power to do this, which Congress hasn't done, and again, at a time when people understand that it has there's a necessity for it. But again, to your question, it isn't about any of us making a decision as to whether the 25th Amendment should be invoked. That's totally not the point. That's not up to us. That's not up to us. But I do go back to Mr. Raskin's point. Just put yourself in a situation and your responsibilities to your family. Should any of you suffer a stroke or COVID and go to ventilation and all the rest of it, and are not capable of making decisions for your family, just because it's unforeseen, accidental, whatever happens, wouldn't you have in advance like to have had a plan for your family? Even if it's temporary, God willing, even if it's temporary, that would be in place. So that's what this is.
Madam Speaker, on a related note, do you think...
You suggested that...
This will take one more because
Thanks, Madam
I have a
Speaker.
day job.
You've suggested that President Trump has an altered state of mind. What are the indications of that? And if I may, recently you commented on UK Brexit policy. Do you think Prime Minister Boris Johnson is an example of somebody whose capacity to govern is reduced by coronavirus?
I have no idea, nor do I have of President Trump. I just said he is under medication. Any of us who is under medication of that seriousness is in an altered state. He has bragged about the medication that he has taken. And again, there are articles by medical professionals saying this could, as I said earlier, could have an impact on judgment. I don't have the faintest idea about Boris Johnson, but I'm glad you brought up this subject because I think we have to be very careful about what happens in the UK. We have very stringent rules in terms of the Food and Drug Administration here about the number of clinical trials, the timing, the number of people, and all the rest, so that when a drug is approved by the FDA and the Scientific Advisory Committee, that it is safe and efficacious, then it will have the trust of the American people to take it. So vaccines are about trust. We want people to take it. So we pray that it is soon. The sooner the better. Not one day sooner than it is safe and efficacious, but not one day later either. And my concern is that the UK's system for that kind of judgment is not on a par with ours in the United States. So if Boris Johnson decides he's going to approve a drug and this president embraces that, that's the concern that I have about any similarity between the two. Thank you all very much.
Madam Speaker, on a related note, do you think it's safe for the president to go out campaigning tomorrow?